record this if everybody is okay with that. That way we have a record for those who cannot be with us today. We know it's a busy season for us all, but we appreciate you all for being here. So we are recording. So again, welcome, good afternoon. Super, that's 3 times. Super excited to be with you all this afternoon. My name is Sadiq Ali, Executive Director with Maryland Mentor. You're going to meet the rest of the team here in a little bit, but we want to take this opportunity to welcome you all to the DMV programs, right? Mentoring programs and meet and greet, to introduce to you all this concept of the merger between Maryland Mentor and MentorPrize, which we're going to tell you all about here momentarily. But first and foremost, we just want to start off and just say, again, welcome. We really appreciate you all for being here. I'm so excited about what the future has to offer, not just us in this moment, but I think the work that we all do is based on the idea of hope, and it's based on the idea of that tomorrow and the future can be better. So I think that is the spirit with which we welcome you all today, is that we believe it in our hearts. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that the future can and will be brighter through our collective efforts and through what we pour into the young people that we all love, support, and know have, just a beautiful future in front of them if we continue working together. And again, that's really the spirit with which we come together today. So we just say welcome. With that being said, we have a ton of really special guests, including you all from so many different programs across the DMV. So many of our partners are with us this afternoon. But before we go any further, I want to pass it to the Maryland Mentor Board Chair, Mr. Jason Bishotti, to say a few additional words to welcome us before we get into the nitty gritty of why we're all here today. Jason?
Sadiq, thank you. Hi, everyone. Welcome. And like Sadiq said, my name is Jason Bishotti. I am the current board chair with Maryland Mentor. I'd like to begin by thanking you all for your time and your presence today. And I'd also like to thank and share my gratitude for MentorPrize, not only for making this great opportunity possible, but also for the diligent time and patience spent in the legal process of completing our recently successful merger. Legally speaking, the merger is complete. However, in reality, we have work to do in absorbing the culture of DC into our own. As we all know, the DMV is a pretty good blend of Maryland, DC, and at least Northern Virginia anyway, but we all also know that DC and Maryland are uniquely different. I'm both honored and excited to be part of the journey. Like Sadiq said, we have a great road ahead in delivering quality and improving the quantity of mentoring in DC and Maryland. So again, couldn't be happier to be part of this process. Sadiq, who should I pass it off to?
No, that was perfect, Jason. I will take it back, and really appreciate you, Jason, again, just for the support from yourself as well as the rest of the board in supporting this process, really coming all together. So it's been a beautiful thing. So I appreciate you, Jason. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge any of our other Maryland Mentor board members that are with us today. I'm not seeing anybody in the chat box yet. I know some folks said that they were going to pop in and out. As well as any of the former MentorPrize board members. If any of you all are in the building and would like to make yourselves known, please do so. Because again, the reason that we really wanted to highlight both the Maryland Mentor Board as well as the former MentorPrize board is that, again, it was a lot of work to get to this point. And as Jason just alluded to, this is just the beginning. So now really the real work, right, so to speak, the fun work begins of continuing to lay this foundation and bring folks together. So again, just a big shout out to the Maryland Mentor Board and the former MentorPrize board as well. And then the last thing, but before we move further in terms of some objectives for today is that, pardon us, normally, how we roll with any Maryland Mentor gatherings, convenings, et cetera, is that we want to make them super interactive and super engaging. this is a little bit different of a gathering today, just in terms of some additional framing, in that we really wanted to give you guys some background about this merger and really give a sneak preview for a lot of what's to come, including our DC town halls, right? Our mentoring listening sessions, specifically designed for us to be able to get nitty gritty and go deeper with some of our programs, which are completely interactive and designed to be that way. So, forgive us if this is like a lot of heavy information, or not super heavy information, but just a lot of information, and that we promise you that is going to be much more interactive towards the end of our conversation today, as well as into the future. So that being said, once again, just welcome. Again, I don't really need to cover this stuff. This is like you all's 11 millionth Zoom or virtual meeting. So, you gotta watch your mute button. We definitely wanna, we're happy that you're eating lunch. We just don't necessarily need to know what you're eating or like be there when you're ordering. So it's all good. But please use the chat box. If you all can tell, we love for our chat box to be lively. That's for questions, again, aha moments, any additional just sharing that folks want to do. Please keep that coming in the chat box. And again, just shout out to everybody that's with us this afternoon. There's also the raise hand feature, but most importantly, space and grace. As I've been sort of prone to remark in the beginning of different meetings and conversations, et cetera, like none of us are doing normally. Like none of us are well right now. We think we are, but I think that the impacts of where we are today, there's still lives being lost at the hands of police brutality. We still got hungry kids in our respective cities and locales. We got people that's really like not doing okay. And some of those folks are with us right now. Some of us are us. And, I always want to acknowledge that this idea of space and grace is put front and center, because I'm going to make a mistake. Our team is going to make a mistake. You're going to make a mistake. And being able to give folks a little bit of extra space, a little bit of grace, I think goes a really, really long way. And the same goes for this entire endeavor as we move into DC. Again, I think Jason hit the nail on the head. There's a lot of work in front of us, and we're going to need all of you all, your collective energy and passion in order to do this well, which is why we're here. So again, we ask for you humbly for your space and grace, as well as, again, let's have some fun too, because at the end of the day, that's also what this is about. Like if we're not enjoying this work as well deeply, and that doesn't mean every moment is going to be enjoyable, but if like the majority of our time doing this work is not enjoyable, then man, either A, we got to find our joy, rediscover that joy, or B, we got to get out of the work. So I just open up with those additional thoughts. So a few goals for today, again, lofty as usual, because we're only together for an hour and it's virtual, which is even kookier, but we want to be able to give a little bit of background on this merger. We want you guys to be able to meet the rest of the Maryland Mentor team that we're going to be working with in order to bring this all to life. We also want to introduce you guys to Mentor National, our sort of, big brother, big sister organization, if you will, which is one of the main reasons why we're excited about this merger, is that it's not just Maryland Mentor when we show up. It's not just our team of consultants. It's not just you all. We also have a national movement and background behind us as well. So you guys are going to be hearing from Joellen Spacek, who is our senior director of the affiliate network at Mentor National. So we're super excited to hear from you all. Again, the merger, we're going to hear a little bit from the co-founder of MentorPrize, Ms. Leslie Edelman. So I'm super excited to hear from her. We're going to give a couple of announcements and then also just some next steps. But most importantly, all of this is about our inviting you all, and really giving this as your personal invitation. Because if any of you all are like me, you like a personal invitation. You just don't like a generic. You can show up if you want. Anybody else don't like invitations like that? Anybody don't like the generic? You can come if you're free. I like a personal invitation. Sadiq, we would like your presence. So please consider this next, 47 minutes, your personal invitation to be in relationship with us and to allow us to support you, right? This is our personal invitation. So that being said, we have a quick icebreaker. Just again, we like to have fun, right? This is a little bit of engagement for us as we move on, but wanted to ask you all this question. Right, as you all hear, I'm a big music guy. I'm a hip hop head. I love music. It is I cannot imagine a world without music. So we invite you all to drop in the chat box. What song have you listened to lately that has brought you some joy? even if it's just 3 minutes of joy or 5 minutes of joy or however long that song lasted for you, please share. Like, doesn't have to be your all-time favorite song. I'll take those as well, because that means it's a song that can bring you joy anytime. But what have you been listening to lately that's brought you a little bit of joy? If you wouldn't mind sharing that with us. And Sada, Maryland Mentor Team, tell me what we see in the chat box. Rise Up, oh, beautiful song. That was an amazing movie too. Rock With You, I got a Michael Jackson fan. Okay. Love Rock With You. That's one of my favorite joints. D-Train, Keep On. Okay. I Wish. Who's that by, Alan? I Wish. Brittany Howard, Stay High. Okay. High on Life, I hope.
These answers, they just came out of nowhere. So people, music does make people happy. That's good to know. Beyonce.
Dream Girl. Okay, classic.
Aretha Franklin.
I Like the Way You Move. Yes. Oh, The Outcast. Yes, that's a classic. Y'all know that one. You like the way you move. Y'all gonna make me sing it? I'm gonna play that. We'll play that on the way out of here. That's the one, Joella. All right, awesome. Celebration. Excuse me, miss. That's classic, Olivia. Okay, I see you, Olivia. Maryland Mentor Vista. Sunshine. Oh, Stevie Wonder. Somebody else put Stevie Wonder in there too. This is a great list, y'all. Listen, we're not gonna spend. We're gonna move on. We gotta bring our joy to this work. We gotta bring our joy to this work. And you know, for me, music represents so much joy and just so much opportunity for us to smile and bring folks together. That's why I'm so excited about reopening up concert venues and all that. Like, we were big live show buffs, my wife and I. So just really appreciate you all sharing. We're gonna put these together in some sort of playlist for you all. So stay tuned. Bob Marley, yes, one of the GOATs. All right. So with that being said, it's my honor and pleasure to pass it to Ms. Leslie Edelman to give us a little bit of background on this merger from the perspective of MentorPrize. And as we know, Maryland Mentor plus MentorPrize is going to equal something way greater than the sum of our individual parts. So Leslie, you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
The floor is yours.
Hi, welcome everyone. I'm super excited to be here today. And as Jason alluded to, it was a long process, but we appreciate all of the due diligence that went into this. So this merger was well thought through, well analyzed, consultants, lawyers, and so forth. And so I think ultimately we are very well positioned to be successful and to do really great things in the DC region. Like many of you know, Maryland Mentor has been around for a while and doing extraordinary work in the Maryland region. And it's really sort of, I guess, my dream in many ways that we would be able to bring these kinds of services to the DC area. So that's sort of a little bit about what happened in the last 6 months, 9 months, 1 year. The conversation really started at the beginning of COVID, I would say. So just to back up a little bit more, MentorPrize was started about 6 years ago. It was the brainchild of Steve Hull, he was the editor and founder of Bethesda Magazine and very active, had been a mentor with FutureLink, which was one of MentorPrize's partners, as well as other organizations, and very passionate about mentoring. And so one of the things that he had sort of thought about was, how can we engage the community in ways to really solicit mentors and then match them with mentoring programs that are adhering to best practices. But Steve sort of had no time and asked if I would like to move forward with it. And so I had just retired and said, sure. So took this on as a project. So in the last 5 years was amazing. 6 years actually with MentorPrize was great. We were mostly focused on that mission to really get the community involved, go out to companies, utilize different online sources, word of mouth, et cetera, to really increase the community engagement. And then once people were interested, to sort of match them with mentoring programs that we had vetted and that we believe were running really great programs. And that's what we've been doing predominantly. We've also been doing some training here and there. That's how we, in many ways, got to know Sadiq, because he led several of them for us. But from the very beginning, we were hoping to get to a position where we could be well positioned to expand the scope of our services into training and technical support and all of those things. And like Sadiq said, I guess you'll be hearing from Joellen later. We talked to her very soon after founding our organization about sort of moving in that direction ultimately. Possibly. So fast forward years down the road, things have been going really well. We've been growing, doing lots of great work. COVID hit. We were kind of struggling with, well, how are we going to do this? Some of our programs aren't taking on mentors right now. Others were going online. How are we going to sell this? We can't go to corporations in the traditional. So the wheels started turning. And I had worked a lot with Sadiq and think he's a total rock star. And was thinking, hey, maybe this is a really good opportunity to join forces and bring our combined assets and expand the services, the scope of services in the DC region. So reached out to Joellen at first to try to get the seal of approval from national organization. And then Sadiq and I started discussions there. And about a year later, we finally merged just a few weeks ago. And so the idea is to merge our assets, our skill sets, our resources, so that Maryland Mentor, which will have a new name soon, to encompass the DC region, will be really well positioned to do its thing that it's been doing so well in the Maryland, predominantly Baltimore, if that's fair to say. That's sort of their hub, and really expand it to the DMV. So we from our side, it's been a much more diligence was done much more on the Maryland Mentor side, because they're actually continuing on with the work. But from our end, we just really felt like they had a super strong team. Their board, led by Jason, is very involved and very detail oriented, and they do things very carefully. And we felt very comfortable with this merger and are so excited to have this team now serving the DC region. So I guess that's sort of a little bit of the background from our perspective. And that's all I got.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Leslie. Yeah, we're excited. We're excited to be together. I don't have anything to add. We're gonna keep it rolling. We're gonna and again, absolutely. If there's any questions or comments, please drop those in the chat box. We're gonna leave some time here at the end for questions for sure, because we can imagine there are some. But we're gonna keep it pushing. Awesome. So next up is my honor, my pleasure to pass it to our very own operations manager, Ms. Sada Hila, who will give an overview of Maryland Mentor. If you're not familiar, because hopefully you've heard of us prior to today, but if not, Sada's going to walk you all through what it is that we do, how we do it, and introduce the rest of our team. Sada?
Perfect. Thank you, Sadiq. First off, I want to say thank you for everyone joining us. Those who are already aware of Maryland Mentor, and those who are just wanting to learn more, right? So thank you. We can go to the next slide. So again, I'm Sada Hila. I'm the operations manager. I've been in this role since 2019, and just working alongside our founding executive director, Sadiq Ali. And I'll let our Vistas introduce themselves, but these are some exceptional Vistas. So unfortunately, their term is ending the end of August, but they just we've been super fortunate to have them. So I'll let y'all introduce yourselves.
Okay, I'll start. Hi, everyone. I'm Olivia James. I'm the Marketing and Communications Vista here at Maryland Mentor.
Hello, everyone. I am Dakota Shamblin, and I'm the Program Outreach Vista.
And I am Antoine Baggett. I'm the Baltimore City Schools Mentoring Vista.
Great, thank you. And so actually, if you see where the little hand is right there next to my image, we are going to be hiring, or someone's going to officially start with us, our program outreach supervisor in May, so next month. So our team is growing, you know, and I always say this, right? We're small, but we're super mighty. And I thank Leslie for even noticing that and saying that. Next slide. So Maryland Mentor, we are one of 25 affiliates of National Mentoring Partnership. We have this mission of increasing the quantity and quality of mentoring relationships and ultimately closing that mentoring gap. So we work with over 200 mentoring programs across the state of Maryland, now in hopes of working with DC mentoring programs. So, you know, one of the things that we want to do, right? There's different terms that go around, right? So our program partners, right? They call us almost the mentors. We are the mentors, our program partners. So we don't directly work with the youth, but we find ways that we can have our programs feel supported, empowered, and we provide just different tools and resources, just, you know, to have our mentoring community sufficiently just carry out safe and effective mentoring relationships. So you can go to the next slide. So we have the secret sauce, right? It's so secret that we haven't had an official name yet, but these are just different, just various different things that our program partners, you know, utilize, right? So community-driven, community responsive. So we make it a point that anything that we do, whether that's trainings or different resources that we share, that is from our programs. Of course, there are different things that we find that our programs will find beneficial, but we hear what our programs have to say, and then we provide that. Cross-sector engagement, we definitely provide just different trainings, and we want to be kind of like the face of the mentoring community, but we find that we also learn from mentoring programs from our, program partners. So we find different ways of how we can train, our, mentors across the state, and even program staff. One thing also, if you once this merge happens and you start working with Maryland Mentor, you'll have access to leaders and networks, not only within Maryland and Washington, D.C., but with National Mentoring Partnership, with the other affiliates, and that's also access to just the cutting edge and evidence-based resources and research that you can find through the NMRC website. We don't have any favorite programs, mentoring programs that we work with. So we do carry just an unbiased position, but we are just hyper aware of those programs who utilize Maryland Mentor, who come to our trainings, who always are asking questions how they can better their staff and mentors, et cetera. So we're aware of those programs. We're also aware of those programs who are kind of, I call them ghost followers, right? We know they're there and they may be aware of Maryland Mentor, they may not be. So we kind of are driven by them, right? Like how can we better, show just different access and resources that we can provide to them. So that is our secret sauce. Next slide. So Maryland Mentor, we kind of work under these 3 different buckets, right? So there's quantity, quality, and elevating the field. So quantity and quality, right? We provide no-cost technical assistance and trainings to our mentoring programs. And I'll speak a little bit about this TA in the next slide, but we also provide, there's a national database called Mentoring Connector. So this is opportunity for mentoring programs to be able to recruit mentors, as well as opportunity for mentees and their families to find your program. So if you're not on Mentoring Connector, we'll share the link with you all and we can even walk you through that process. Other things that we do just to kind of increase the local engagement is advocating for legislation, policies, and public funding streams. So every year we're part of Capitol Hill Day during National Mentoring Month, and we invite the different mentoring programs because again, right, even though mentoring programs are seeing us kind of the expertise in this mentoring community, you all know more, sometimes more than us, and we want to hear your voices. Your voices kind of matter more than ours sometimes. And other things that we do is we lead just different campaigns to increase awareness of mentoring. As always, we regularly just collect data to identify gaps and share findings. So we can go to the next slide. So what does our support look like? These are just a few of just different array of different things that we can provide. So I mentioned the no cost technical assistance. So if your program is brand new or you've been in the mentoring community, 5+X, years, and you're trying to figure out, just different funding streams or, trainings for your mentors, whatever the case may be, we have 13 consultants on deck ready to provide this no cost TA, and that's up to 20-30 hours. We actually have a consultant who's on with us today. And so I know I'm kind of speaking a lot, but this is here. We will share these slides with you all, and these are all clickable links, including the Elements of Effective Practice for Mentoring handbook, which is, A to Z of how to, make sure that your mentoring program is on site, on board. You can continue the next slide. I think that's maybe it. Yeah. Okay, so I will pass the mic to Jo Ellen to speak about the history of Mentor National.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Sadiq and Leslie, Jeanette, Jason, so many of you who have been part of the building blocks. I don't think any of us saw a straight line in terms of how this evolved, but all the right people and ingredients all came together at the right moment in time. So thanks for all of your contributions, both in skill, money, resources, and the love and the heart that all of you bring to this work. And I bring you greetings from Mentor National. I've been on the national team for about 6 years. Prior to that, I ran one of our affiliates in Minnesota for 20 years. So have been in the mix as well for a long time. And as you can see on the next slide, that Sarah beautifully already articulated kind of the role of Mentor and our 25 affiliates around the country is to elevate and build the quantity and quality of mentoring. That has been the origins of the work for 30 years. We're celebrating our 30th anniversary this year. And we are so grateful and proud of the way in which Sadiq and Sarah and the rest of the Maryland team with Olivia, Dakota, Antoine have all really expanded in a very quick way the type of impact that we like to see all across the country. On the next slide, just a shout out to our local Baltimorean, David Shapiro, who is our CEO, is originally from Baltimore and has a lot of family that still lives there, connections as well that are really important to us. So not that you want to play favorites with any of the affiliates, but it's kind of hard not to when this is your hometown. So this expansion into the DC market obviously is something as well that our leadership at the board level has also been incredibly excited about. Nancy Altabello, who comes to us from EY, served on the Mass Mentoring affiliate board before she assumed the role of the national. So you can see again how important we view the role of our affiliates all across the country. The next couple slides will just hit on very quickly about the evolution of the mentoring movement. Many of you already know this, could probably give this spiel yourselves, but mentoring in the early 90s was known through the eyes or the lens of Big Brothers Big Sisters. That was the brand. And what has happened over these last 30 years is incredible growth and the way in which we all view and partner and rely on each other to help build that quantity and quality piece. So for the work that is going to be done in the DC market, we know we're going to particularly focus on some of those smaller grassroots organizations who are just as important as the big name brands, and particularly those led by people of color. So we again have worked really hard and continue to double down on our commitment to be as inclusive as possible. If people care about relationships with young people, we want to be in relationship with you. On the next slide, just a couple highlights, and Sarah also mentioned the National Mentoring Resource Center, which is where you can access free training and technical assistance. And we have had such great demand that we are actually using up our resources quicker than we had anticipated. That's a good problem to have, as it gives us a way to go back to the Office of Juvenile Justice and request for increased funding for the coming years. We also, many of you know about the National Mentoring Summit that happens right in DC and has always been there from the get-go. Certainly this year was a grand experiment, like this whole year has been for all of us, to go virtual. We had almost 3,800 people that participated virtually. And so we hope to be, maybe we won't be fully back in person, but we definitely will have the summit again in January during National Mentor Month. And then the last thing I just wanted to highlight before I pass it back to Sadiq is that on the next slide, there's just a summary of the way in which we think about how we're trying to affect change. And I think one of the big things that affiliates as well as Mentor National partner around is how do we affect systems? How are we engaging and disrupting systems, particularly around racial equity, to ensure that young people have the kinds of relationships that is really going to support them in their healthy youth development. And so we work a lot within education. Obviously, workforce development is critically important, and two that we're hyper focused on at the moment. But know that our affiliates and Mentor National are here to support you and are so excited about this chapter. A huge note of gratitude to Leslie and the MentorPrize team for not only the great work that you did over the years and the way in which you've always engaged in and aspired to expanding your reach and your scope. So deep gratitude to you and your team and your board of directors for the amazing work you've done over the years. And with that, I'll pass it back to Sadiq.
Hey, thank you so much, Joellen. Great information and context is also again, it's just exciting. This is all very, very exciting. So I wanted to, if we could, for a moment, just pause to bring in our audience, our participants. What questions, comments, thoughts so far from folks that we can answer before really starting to move towards conclusion? Just kind of giving, in our next part, really just some high level thoughts about some of the next steps, some of the next things that we'll be working on. But again, any questions, comments, thoughts so far?
I have a question, Sadiq. Maybe that I've noticed that some of MentorPrize's partners are on this Zoom, and just wondering, I'm sure many of them are, how things might look a little bit different for them in terms of the recruitment that we've done historically for them and new services that they'll now be. So just, you've mentioned some of them, but I'm sure they're kind of curious how things might look a little bit different.
Yeah, great question. I think as Sada alluded to, from a service provision standpoint, mentor recruitment rather is one of those areas as we talk about, key learnings and really merging the two sets of assets and strengths. That's something that as Maryland Mentor, we stand still to learn a lot from some of the work and foundation that MentorPrize has laid out. And likewise from some of our partners, right, that we've been in communication with already in the DC market. Again, we just recently concluded in January, the 500 Virtual Mentor Recruitment Challenge, right? And we learned so much of that being very, very close and in lockstep with a ton of partners throughout the DMV, Prince George's County, Montgomery County, as well as Washington, DC. So I think, in short, this is an opportunity for us to learn and again, take the best of what MentorPrize already laid out foundationally, incorporate more feedback from our partners, and then I would say incorporate some of the existing tools that represent the asset base of Maryland Mentor, leveraging more of the mentoring connector, leveraging more, hopefully, once again, some of that additional expertise via community led and driven mentor recruitment events, working more with the school districts, right, to help really push out and be at the front, right, and in a leadership role as it pertains to mentor recruitment. So I think it's going to be really, really exciting. I think, I start with mentor recruitment because again, that's the legacy of MentorPrize. And I would say outside of that, all the additional services that we look to bring, and that is, in terms of our program design expertise. As Sada alluded, we also have a team of again, 12 consultants that we can actually deploy to work hand in hand with local mentoring programs that are looking to implement more best practices, so on and so forth. And then as it pertains to new ways of working with corporate partners, this is something that, again, we've been doing more and more of, and that is actually working with some of our larger corporate partners and institutional partners to build out mentoring initiatives, right? And or to make those connections between community-based programs and those corporate partners that are looking to get engaged in a deeper way beyond just writing a check, right? Because we know this is the season of social activism. There's a lot of checks getting written, but you know, the checks are good. We want checks to go directly to those direct service programs that are doing work, but we also want to create the conduit for folks to be able to give their time and their expertise, et cetera. So I think all of that is how we look forward to be able to work with all of the different partners. Awesome. So we got some comments in the chat box here too.
This is
Yeah, please, Donnie.
Salik. This is this is Donnie Littlejohn. Hello everyone. We are a small mentoring organization out of DC, Men of Color Alliance, MOCA, and we have taken probably full advantage of Maryland Mentors Tech Assistance Program in terms of getting us started. Our grassroots, we built a real strong foundation, and our basic mentoring program is in. We're partnered with DCPS.
Yes.
In the Connected School program, and it's been great. This virtual past year was a real challenge for us, but we did find that in trying to communicate with the kids, we were able to establish better relationships with the parents because we had to reach out to them a lot more. And we are looking forward to this merger and having an additional base in DC, the MentorPrize. We think that's going to be a great additional resource for us. We, like I said, we're part of partnering with the Connected Schools, and they've been asking us to, we have other mentors, can we go into other schools in Ward 7 and Ward 8,
yes,
which is really underserved areas. And so we're looking forward to this resource as well as what we've been getting from Maryland Mentors.
No, thank you so much, Donnie. And shout out to your consultant. We see her with us, Ms. Jeanette
Absolutely.
Simon.
She's been great.
Yes. So yeah, now we appreciate that very, very much. And again, that proximity, we hope, is going to lend itself to being able to work even more closely with you all and MOCA and the MOCA team. So man, we appreciate that.
We appreciate you.
Michael just asked a very, very excellent question. We talk about the DMV, right? Short answer, and Sada just answered that. Yes, there is a Mentor Virginia, and Sada, she's answering the rest of it. She just answered it. That's perfect. And what she said, for those not on the chat, is that we would not directly service Virginia-based programs, and again, in particular, Northern Virginia programs, but rather we would collaborate with Mentor Virginia to come up with a service plan. So in other words, if that's let's say an Alexandria-based mentor program, but also works with DC, some families in DC or some young people that also live in DC, right? Because we know that those borders in the DMV are very fluid, right? I was born in Washington, DC, but I grew up in Prince George's County. My mom still lived in DC. My dad lived in Prince George's County. I rode that green line back and forth, right? For those of y'all who know, if you know, you know, right? So we know that those borders are very fluid, and we think that that's the same approach that we need to take in servicing programs. But again, as Sada alluded to, we will most certainly collaborate with our sister organization, Mentor Virginia, to make sure that we get you whatever it is that you need. Hopefully that answers your question, Michael. And Lauren, we share your excitement. Very much so. Chrislyn, one of our amazing partners that we've been working with for several years in DC, Best Kids, does some amazing work. So yeah, we appreciate you, Chrislyn. Super excited. The Juma, shout out to the Hortons Kids family. We see you.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
There was a group that the United Way of the National Capital Area would pull together, right? And we would meet quarterly.
Yep.
And is that something that would be an option? It was I mean, I've certainly been to plenty of Maryland mentor workshops and they've been incredible. So I really appreciate that. But it was also great for even more localized groups to mix and mingle. And I can say, hey, I don't work with adults, but you do, you know, I mean, obviously virtually it's tough, but you know, when we get to that point, will that be an option with this merger?
Yeah, great question, Lauren. Thank you so much for that. So the short answer is yes, that's absolutely an option and absolutely something that we have plans to carry on. The long answer is that we've been in constant communication with United Way and their former, all the foundation that was built with the Mentoring Matters Coalition. We've participated in a ton of Mentoring Matters Coalition stuff over the years, as you know. And we, again, to Leslie's question, that is really our objective, to take the best of what has already happened, not to come in with a whole bunch of new stuff like we got all original ideas, which we don't, right? But our objective rather is to build on the strong foundation that already exists. So it would be crazy for us to not continue some sort of regular gathering of programs. Now, what exactly that looks like is yet TBD, but again, short answer is yes, absolutely. Because again, that was an amazing gathering. That was an amazing group of programs. And we're really excited about being able to take that same concept and really apply a collective impact lens to it as well. So that way, not only are we gathering, right, and sharing, war stories and best practices and promising practices and highlights, but also for us to come together and say, you know what, here's a group of DC-based programs, we would like a meeting with City Council, or we would like a meeting with the Deputy Mayor of Education. So that way we can continue to formalize our efforts for even greater impact and greater scale for the young people that we know need it and deserve it. So that's also some of the thinking of where we want to go. Great questions, great questions. Najuma asked, will this merger have any effect on current DC organizations? None at all. We're just doing it bigger and better, baby. None at all, bigger and better. We have a hand raised, Kelly, please. And then we're gonna move on. This will be our last question, and then we'll move on to this next section. These are great questions.
Quick question, Sadiq, as you know, I'm starting a new mentoring program that will actually affect the entire DMV, and you have been awesome. Talk about referring to affiliates. Mentor Virginia has just been amazing to help me get the grassroots done, so thank you for that. But we will actually be collaborating with high schools in rural areas in Maryland, DC, and Virginia. Are there any rules or anything? I mean, we'll have the mentoring program up and running, so we'll be able to start this fall. But do I need to coordinate when you're in the 3 areas? Is there anything, since I'm new to the whole mentoring game, do I need to coordinate with you guys and DC as well? Or any advice on that note when you're affecting different cities and states?
Yeah, great question as well. Really appreciate it. Again, short answer is that this is your program. You run it. You run it the way you want to run it, right? The long answer is that there are some nuances that we can recommend in terms of let's say Mentoring Connector, for instance. If your program operates in multiple jurisdictions, then you can actually designate where you're recruiting mentors from, let's say on the Mentoring Connector. So being in communication with us, hopefully can only help your efforts, right? So we would say, we want to check off that you're recruiting mentors in Maryland, DC, and Virginia would be one piece. I think in terms of the services that we intend to offer across Maryland and now DC, you now have the sort of pick of the litter in terms of where you want to show up and how you want to participate in some of those pieces that we offer. But generally speaking, we're here for you when you launch, in terms of supporting you with training, or again, if technical assistance, if you want to work with one of our consultants like a Jeanette or a Jeff Walker, who's also based in DC, or we can hook you up in that regard as well. So it all just depends on the mission and the vision of the program, and over the series of a couple conversations, we'll figure out how to best to support.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Great questions, y'all. Great questions. Did we get them all? Sweet. So a couple quick highlights as we start again moving towards conclusion here, some of which we've already chatted about. So one of our first sort of orders of business, if you will, is a DC-based programs mentoring town hall series. For those of us that have been, together with the Maryland Mentor team since 2018, if you all recall, we did this exact same thing across the state of Maryland back in 2018 as we relaunched. And that was to bring together programs, right? So that way we can hear directly from you all in terms of what's been working well, where are there challenges, where is some of that nuance that Jason alluded to early on in terms of DC is not Baltimore. I've lived and work and, have deep roots in both, but DC is not Baltimore. Baltimore is not DC. Prince George's County is not DC. And again, for those of us, again, who know, they will take great offense to you considering Prince George's County or PG County, DC. Completely different world, even though they are 5 minutes apart in some cases. So, that approach is certainly what's going to inform our continued due diligence process. So again, this town hall series represents that. And again, part of our strategic planning process was to engage programs during both our statewide survey last summer that happened, as well as, again, lots of interviews from DC-based programs have already informed a lot of what we're doing anyway, but we are making it a point to make sure that we get it and that we hear loud and clear. So that town hall series is going to be really, really important to us. And hopefully we will be able to gather at least once in person, maybe towards the end of the summer, but we're playing that by ear right now. We will also be hiring, secondly, a DC-based program and outreach manager. So this is separate from the person that Sada just mentioned. We will be coming on board to really support, Baltimore and the rest of Maryland, but we are hiring a very, very specific DC-focused, DMV-focused program outreach manager, and that position will be opening on May the 1st. We're going to keep that open and solicit applications up until the 21st of May, and we hope to have that person enroll by that first town hall meeting in DC on June 23rd. So stay tuned on that and help us spread the word. If you know somebody amazing, just have them email us. Sada, you can just drop my email address or your email address, and you can just send us resumes directly if there's somebody that you all think would be suited, and then we'll reply with the link, the application link. New branding. So, we have it, we're close to choosing our new name, but that's going to include a refresh. We want to make sure that through our name and our brand, we're paying homage to DC. So stay tuned. We're going to make that announcement in the next probably 2 weeks or so. So again, stay tuned, right? So Maryland Mentor plus MentorPrize is going to equal something new and awesome. And then again, begin planning for an in-person gathering of mentoring programs. Much to your question, Lauren, again, as the beginnings, right? But we want to share our strategic plan and vision for how we intend to continue supporting, as well as the findings from our DC sort of landscape and town hall, because after these town halls, we're going to put together a report out from what we heard, and again, how that intends, or how we intend for that to inform the work that we're going to be doing in the future. And then lastly, we are early in the planning stages. And again, if anybody is interested in helping us plan the DC Mentoring Summit, right? Because this is long overdue. This is long overdue. But a DC Mentoring Summit to bring together our DC-based program providers, again, to talk, shop, mentoring best practices, and to continue to deepen our understanding, our professional development as youth development workers. Shout out to all my AYD folks. If you are a mentor, you're running a mentoring program, you are a youth development worker, and we need to be trained and think of ourselves as such. We intend, again, timing to be determined, a citywide mentor recruitment campaign specifically for DC, again, building on that legacy of MentorPrize and some of our additional work. We have a really cool sort of multimedia campaign that we're in the process of getting together, again, where we want to be able to feature as many of our new friends in DC as possible, because I just want to be clear on that. Like, that's one of our biggest pieces of DNA, if you will, is ensuring that programs have a platform to share the awesome things that you all are doing. This is not about Sadiq, this is not about Sada or Jason or Leslie, it's about you all. And we want to be clear on that. There is so much that we can learn from you all and that you all can learn from each other. But in sharing our platform and making sure that we're featuring you all prominently is like super high up on our list and a core part of what makes us us. DCPS work, DC City Council, and then again, formalizing that Maryland Mentor Program Network. Again, just Maryland Mentor is just a placeholder because again, we're going to change our name here in a little bit. But that program network again speaks to Lauren's question as well, like these regional hubs where, right? Because again, not only are DC and Baltimore different, but guess what? Queen Anne County is different than DC, which is different than Baltimore County, which is different than Washington County, so on and so forth. So this idea of regional hubs has been something that we've been sort of tinkering with a lot over these last couple of years. So, you know, this is the time for us to finally roll that out. So stay tuned. Lastly, just a bit more about our DNA and some of those things. A lot of this has already been alluded to, but continuing to build on that program of the United Way. They have been a strong partner and we expect that to continue into the future. More Black and Brown led technical assistance and inviting to the table. Many of our smaller Black and Brown led programs and organizations have been overlooked for a really, really long time. Like they aren't big enough, they aren't mentoring like enough. Lots of really harmful, I would say, rhetoric and perception about a lot of our community-based programs that we're going to be working diligently to undo and to change that narrative as best we can. Listening sessions, again, listening, connecting, sharing, and then ultimately looking for more ways to highlight programs. So I'm gonna pause right there and give it to Sada to wrap us up, take it home. If there's any final questions, please drop those in the chat box. And really, really appreciate you all and so excited to share more about what's to come.
All right, thank you, Sadiq. And great questions, everyone. We're also all excited just to connect. So some closing stuff, right? Like I said, we hold a lot of different trainings. We have a wrap session coming up on April 29th. So this is actually part of a campaign that we started in the fall. We recruited over 200 programs across 5 different counties. And now we invited programs to provide trainings for these mentors. So wrap session is April 29th. We have a small group session on May 1st. This is the title is called Creating Community-Based Mentoring Program. So we actually just had the bigger one just yesterday, and we'll share those links with you. Olivia, sorry, can you share that link that has all these dates, including the flyer as well, if you can? Actually, we don't have that. Yeah, you can include the file there, sorry. There's that one May 1st. We have the race, equity, and mentoring. Where do we start is like the main important thing is May 18 on Tuesday. So of course, you can register for any of these events on marylandmentor.net/events. I'll reshare that link again. But yes, and then get social with us. So this, of course, we're going to change the name once the merge officially happens. But for right now, do follow us at Maryland Mentor. That's on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. And once you do follow us, right, we'll refollow you all once we get our new name. And of course, our Gmail account, you can hit us up on marylandmentor@gmail.com. And I'll let Sadiq share this quote. This is his favorite quote.
I love this quote. Thank you, Sada. And that's really our time. Look at that, right on time, y'all. We try our best to start and end on time, but this is one of my favorite quotes, right? Because there's a lot of scary stuff going on, and I think this is a really, really relevant quote. Shout out to Mr. Rogers and the Cardigans. He's a cardigan champ, cardigan OG. But there's a lot of scary things, and I think it's our duty collectively, right, to always seek each other out, those that are helping, those that are doing their part, those that just aren't Monday morning quarterbacking, right? Talking about what woulda, coulda, shoulda, right? But that are in the fight, that are getting stuff done. And that's who we consider ourselves to be. And certainly we consider you all to be that as well. So with that, that concludes our time for today. We'll stick around for these last 2 minutes if there's any closing questions or comments. But again, this is just the beginning, folks, and we really look forward to having you all with us during our town hall series here in the next couple of weeks as well. So much love to you all. Peace and blessings. And again, we'll stick around for another minute or so.